So guys, welcome to Vitae Sports third Instagram live. We've had really successful two Instagram lives with Lewis McManus from Hampshire and Oliver from Warwickshire. And today we have Alan Richardson, who's a legend of the game. And Alan Richardson is the current assistant coach of Worcestershire. In his illustrious career, he's played for Staffordshire, Derbyshire, Middlesex, Warwickshire and Worcestershire. So let's get Alan online, and before getting Alan online, I just want to tell the viewers who've not joined us before, Vitae Sports is a sports management company with global offices in America, Pakistan, South Africa and Stoke-on-Trent in England. And the company represents players like Pat Brown, who just got selected to play for England again, Ashley Giles, who's the ECB director, Azhar Ali of Pakistan, Sandeep Lamichhane of Nepal, to name a few. Hi Lewis, thanks for joining. Amy Gibson, thanks for joining. If I could just request Alan to send me a request to join. Hi Oliver, thanks for joining. Good to see you. Alan Richardson, sent Alan the request, then we can start the session. Hi Alan.
Hi man, how are you?
How are you? I'm good. How are you? It's a nice sunny day today.
Mate, I thought it was too nice to not be outside, so we'll give it a go.
Yeah. It's good. You've got a nice view at the back.
Do you think so? Mate, it's
Yeah,
beautiful.
it's nice.
It's beautiful in Birmingham. There you go. It's like that. It's very scenic, picturesque Birmingham.
Yes, I just want to ask the viewers if we are audible, if Alan is audible and I am audible. If you could just put a thumbs up if we're audible. If there's any sound problem, if you could just put it in the comments. Thank you. Just wait for 5 seconds. Yeah, we've got a thumbs up. We're good to go. So tell me, Alan, how have you been? How are things at your home? How's your family?
Yeah, pretty good. Pretty busy. We've got two little ones. So Harry, who's 5, and Olivia, who's 3. So some very, very basic homeschooling, and then just trying to keep them amused as much as possible and out of trouble. So yeah, it's been pretty good. Nice to spend some time with the family, which I wouldn't normally be doing at this time of the year.
Yeah. So how we do it in our Instagram live sessions is we start with a quick lockdown rapid fire questions.
Oh wow! Okay.
So I want to ask the first question: a new skill you've learned staying at home?
Baking, badly.
Baking. Okay, that's nice. Highlight of the lockdown?
Having days where I don't have to bowl at my son.
The best movie or series you've seen during this lockdown?
Pretty obvious one. We just finished The Last Dance with Michael Jordan on Netflix. Yeah. It's been awesome.
This is the third session we're doing on Instagram. Lewis has just joined us. Hi Lewis, thanks for joining. Lewis also said the same. The Last Dance, and Oliver also said the same.
That's really unoriginal, isn't it? Sorry.
So people who've not watched it, please do watch it. No matter what sport you follow, it's very motivating. And one thing other than cricket you're missing the most, Alan?
Football. I haven't got BT Sports, so I can't watch the Bundesliga at the moment, but I'm looking forward to that when that restarts again.
Okay, so that sets the ball rolling. I just want to tell our viewers, please feel free to put any type of questions you have. If they're appropriate enough, then I'll ask Alan.
No, do not ask people to do that.
So, yes. So I just want to take you back in your earlier days, how you took up the sport of cricket. What inspired you to take up the sport of cricket?
My dad was a cricketer, not a very good one. He played the equivalent of third 11 cricket, club cricket. But my mum and my sister both worked on a Saturday, so I literally went everywhere with him. So my summers on a Saturday were filled with me going to watch my dad play from probably about the age of 5 or 6. And literally that's all I did on a Saturday, and just fell in love with it there and then, really, and would have badgered anyone and everyone to either bowl at me or let me bowl at them.
What is the first memory of a cricket match you watched on television, be it a club county match or an international match?
I think So when Botham's Ashes were on in '81, I was 6, and I don't remember the ins and outs of it, but I remember my dad being glued to watching it, and then that being the first time really when I wanted to come inside in the summer and actually watch a little bit of cricket. So without watching the videos now and watching the footage now, I've had no idea what's gone on, but I remember.
Yeah, sorry, we just lost you. Come again?
No, it's fine. Someone actually tried to call me.
That's fine.
So yeah, just I wouldn't have remembered the ins and outs of it too much. Just remember being glued to the screen really, and knowing that something was really exciting was happening because my dad was just watching it non-stop.
Okay, I want to talk about your earlier days in cricket, graduating from the Staffordshire system and signing for Derbyshire. How was that?
It was a real surprise, really, for I imagine everyone who'd seen me and myself. So I was really lucky. I played at a club called Little Stoke, who at the time, there was 2 clubs in my town, Stone and Little Stoke. And Little Stoke had a junior section. So at about the age of 10 or 11, my dad took me along there. I had a coach called Tim Fielding who was incredibly passionate about it. And we had a good group of lads who really wanted to play and parents who got heavily involved. So I played there and we had a really good side. So I was involved in that, but didn't get a chance to bat very often or bowl very often, but really enjoyed it and made the most of it as much as I could. And I couldn't get in any of the county age group stuff until I was 17. And eventually got in the under-19s actually as a 17-year-old. So yeah, and played a little bit for that. And then suddenly Derbyshire just must have been watching me or had pulled my name out of a hat or something and offered me a deal then as an 18-year-old, which came out of the blue completely really. But yeah, I absolutely loved my time back at home, and Little Stoke was always my home club.
Okay, we've got a few questions coming in already. Alan, so we've got a question from Norton in Hales CC. Best batter currently in the NSSCCL.
Oh, wow. That would be quite a difficult one for me, having not watched much cricket recently. So I'm going to stick to people that I know, and I would say whether he is currently and whether he's not retired. Richard Harvey wouldn't be bad, who plays at Stone and was probably he's my age, so he's getting on quite a bit and would have dropped down. If not, I'm going to go Spencer Byatt at Little Stoke because he's a Little Stoke boy, and I'm going to be extremely biased on this.
So we've got Oliver saying, ask him to click his fingers.
Can't do it. Literally can't do it. It's a wasted skill as far as I'm concerned, and can't do it. And I'm not going to do it here now. My children take great pride in the fact it's something that I can't do. But I just don't see the point in doing it anyway, really. If you click your fingers at someone, isn't it considered rude anyway? And my chances of being a backing finger are limited, so I'm not going to do it. No, it's fine.
Oliver, I'm sorry I tried, but you did. So we've got a question from Shashi Jain from London. Would you like to coach an IPL team?
Wow, yeah, of course I'd love to be involved in the IPL. It looks like an absolute circus, which is amazing. You know, it's the most popular franchise in the world. Many great players, many great coaches. I think it would be an incredible experience to be involved with. So yeah, that would be a fantastic opportunity if ever that came along. But I think I've got quite a few hurdles ahead of me before that yet. But no, that would be amazing.
I want to take you to 2002 when this is not about your bowling, this is about your batting, when you scored a very unlikely 91.
You say very unlikely, but carry on.
This question actually comes from Darren Long,
Okay.
who is the founder of Vitae Sports. People who don't know him, he's the founder of Vitae Sports and a very good friend of Alan. And he said that you scored a very unlikely 91 for Warwickshire in 2002 against Hampshire. So if you could just... Oh, yeah, sorry, we lost you again. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I've got you.
Yeah, it's just your video is not coming clearly.
Have you got me?
Yeah, it's now we've got you. Yes. So if you could just, what was going through your mind if you remember when you played that innings of 91?
Not a great deal, really. Anyone who's ever seen me play will understand that the 91 is usually my season tally, let alone in one go. So
yeah,
I was not out overnight, and got up early in the morning, went into the ground, had a bit of a hit, and just the expectation really concentrate on my bowling that I wouldn't be out there for much longer. I was batting at 11, and actually me and Nick Knight put on a few runs, and I just managed to hang around a little bit. I think if anything, the Hampshire boys had a big night out in Broad Street in Birmingham, having us 9 down, and expected it to be a pretty short day in the dirt. So when that happened, I ground them down in, I reckon, the first half an hour, 45 minutes, and managed to fudge my way around. And by then, they'd absolutely gone, to be honest. They were all hungover, I thought, or a high percentage of them. So thank you, boys, for that. You gave me a chance, and it just sort of, the momentum just sort of carried on, really, from there.
Was that the pinnacle of your batting career?
Oh, without a shadow of a doubt. It hasn't. There's very little competition for that spot, to be honest. And the only regret really is I haven't got any footage of it, and I can't really remember too much about it, except that a lot went down to third man, and I had a couple of ugly swipes at one. And then when I got into the 90s, having never done it in any cricket, so let alone club cricket, youth cricket, I'd never got this. I think my previous high score would have been maybe a 60 or something. Thinking that I can do this in 2 hits. Worked it out. I'll slog sweep a 6 and a 4. Job done. 100. Never to be repeated. And had a massive oik at one at a guy called Giles White, who's now director of cricket at Hampshire, who bowled really, really part-time leg spin. Probably won't mind me saying that. And I dragged my foot out and got stumped on 91.
We've got a question coming in from Manish from Switzerland. He says, how do clubs keep how do clubs keep younger kids engaged with cricket this summer and in the lockdown whilst there is no live cricket on? Any suggestions?
I think it's really difficult, to be honest. But I think if you go back and rewind many years, certainly when I started, there was no academies around, and there was a little bit of age group cricket representative, and you sort of relied on that when summer holidays came around. So up until then, you were sort of fending for yourself. So playing out with your mates, playing in the back garden, throwing the ball against the wall to have a bowl or catch the ball or whatever. So I think that's the way to do it at the moment. I mean, we're really lucky that we've got with Sky that they're just continually repeating cricket. So at least we've got something to watch, even though I'm sure guys have watched it lots and lots of times before. But then really, I think, and we've encouraged any of our lads, if they want to go and do something, they're going to have to be quite creative. And imagine going back when they didn't have any structure, they didn't have any particular resources, and had to go and fend for themselves, really. And I think it's getting a little bit easier that you can now go to nets and have potential one-to-one coaching, or you can go with a mate, and as long as you socially distance. But I think it's just about trying to be as creative as possible, really, and not rely on other people to set something up for you, and go and find ways of doing it, whether it be in your back garden or in your lounge or whatever, with a softball, just trying to find ways of keep going, really. It's incredibly tough.
How has your interaction been since the lockdown started with with the boys in the team? Are you interacting with them regularly? Are there any set of fitness that you've been doing, they've been doing? Are you talking to the bowlers of what they can do during this time?
Well, as we're all on furlough, we're not allowed to do any of that, man, obviously. But we do have some conversations, just checking in basically on well-being. I'm sure that when the boys see a phone call with my name on it, a lot of them just red button me anyway, but I hand them down eventually. And they can't escape me for that long. So just really keeping in touch, seeing how they're going. A lot of the guys are obviously, they're into their fitness, and with being bowlers, you've got to be the fittest people in the squad, fittest players in the squad. So looks like the guys have been doing really good stuff alongside that. And again, having to be creative. Your gyms aren't open, so having to know they've been doing sessions and things like that, and keeping themselves going, which has been great. And some of the guys have been going out into parks or down the local field and just bowling into a wall or something like that, and just keeping themselves ticking over.
Okay, I want to come to a question which we got from Daryl Mitchell, who's a fellow Vitae Sports and Worcestershire and Players Cricket Association chairman. And he says that, is it true your appearance is based on the Ricky Gervais character Derek?
It can be that. I made a real effort today with my hair. I don't know if you wouldn't have noticed that. You've never really seen me before, so it doesn't matter. But I have made an effort. But it has been known that if I let my appearance go occasionally, I might resemble Derek, the Ricky Gervais character, yes. But I thought that, you know, people viewing into this, how many that might be, and not many, don't really want to be exposed to that.
And I want to get to a question where I want to ask you about, did you ever feel overboard earlier in your career, which led to injuries?
Sorry, can you repeat that? I didn't quite get that.
Yeah. Did you ever feel overboard earlier in your career, which led to a few injuries?
Nah, not earlier in my career. I just absolutely love bowling, so that's fine. It's funny you've just had Daryl on there. He overbowled me when I later on in my career, and literally just kept throwing me the ball and just telling me to get on with it. But no, as a kid, and I think it's a really interesting one with workloads now, and I guess we need to look after the well-being and the physical side of it. But I certainly didn't grow up in that environment and would have just bowled a lot. And I still went through injuries. You know, I had a stress fracture of the back when I was a kid, but I think it was something I had to go through. Ideally, you don't want to, but I think for me to get to the standard that I wanted to get to, I needed to bowl a lot and take every opportunity possible. And I don't know if I looked through it rose-tinted glasses, but it felt like I played a lot during the summers back home when I was young, and I just loved playing and just wanted to bowl. Really, as we've already ascertained, I couldn't bat much, and my fielding wasn't great.
Yes, Alan is here. I'll just add him back again. Thanks for your patience. Let's get Alan back in.
Hi, Alan.
Hi, how you doing?
Sorry, we lost you. I think your internet was not working.
No, it's fine.
Your videos?
Back. Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me and see me?
Yes, it's not clear. It's the video it's a little blurry. If you could just.
That's as good as I've got at the moment, mate.
Okay. So let's carry on. We've got a few questions, so I'll just take those ones. We've got a question from Gopal from India, and he asks, what do you think about the rule against using saliva on the ball, the new ICC rule that has come? Do you think it is harsh for the bowlers?
Potentially, but if it's a necessity, then we have to go with it. So if it's something, if it's a difference between, well, no saliva and we play cricket, or we don't play cricket, then we're always going to play cricket, I think. So whilst it's really difficult, and I think Ollie would have mentioned it in his last one, there's very rarely rules that come in that help bowlers. So this is just another hurdle we're going to have to overcome. And so I'm sure we'll get past that and we'll get through that, and it'll be another way of guys trying to be a bit creative on how they try and manage the ball and where they go from there, really. I think we can use sweat, can't we? So there's going to be certain individuals at certain sides who sweat a lot, so we'll be chucking the ball to them, getting them to look after the ball, and then cracking on from there, really. But I think for the guys, like I say, if it's a choice between cricket and no cricket, we crack on with the cricket.
We've got a question from Rajiv Jain from India. As a coach, would you stress on technique more than natural talent, such as Stokes or Sehwag?
I think it's got to be a real balance between everything. You'll get those, guys that you'll see playing even at a young age. That would be their natural way of doing it. That's where they would have learned, whether it be with their mates or idolising someone and trying to, imitate someone that they've seen, but they do it in their own way. And then really, I guess after that, it's if the outcome's still really good, you wouldn't change too much really, and you might try and tinker with it. It's really, you're only going to change technique is if the outcome is not what you desire and what you want to do, and then you have to look at ways of doing that while still trying to stay as natural as possible. I think there are guys who go through major technical changes, but I think in general it's guys who just tinker around with it and find out what's best for them. It's not necessarily, and I'll speak from experience here, it's not what you look like, it's what the end result looks like.
We've got another question from Manish from Switzerland. He's asking your views on why cricket is not starting up again, and as compared to football in this country, and especially when it's not a contact sport.
Yeah, well, it's a bit above my pay station, that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think by the sounds of it, the ECB have done everything that they can and have presented some really good cases about why cricket should go ahead and how they're going to go about it. I wouldn't know the ins and outs of it too much. The cynic in me would say that football, there's a lot more money at stake and there's a lot more money to be at it. The priority with ECB at the moment is to get international cricket up and running. So that's one hell of an operation in itself. You've got to get the West Indies over here and try and self-contain people and keep it to 2 venues and get it as safe as possible. So I think whilst the actual game itself is probably easier to manage, the ins and outs of it going into it could potentially give us a few problems, which I think the ECB have dealt with really well so far.
I want to take you to May 2013, and I want to tell our viewers that 9 days in May 2013, you took 24 wickets in consecutive matches, and 5 for 41 and 7 for 22 against Kent at Canterbury, then 8 for 37 and 4 for 70 against Gloucestershire at Worcester, for combined figures of 84.2 overs, 29 maidens, 170 runs for 24 wickets. What was going through your mind in these 9 days? How did all of this happen? And just adding to this question, if you could also talk about what was the key to your success later in your career?
Well, firstly, by doing that, you should have been my agent rather than Darren, because you far more than he ever did. So, I don't know. It ended up being my last season, but I'd started quite poorly in terms of wicket return. I'd bowled okay without getting anything, and I was just chugging along, and we suddenly got on a wicket at Canterbury, which did a bit. It looked really flat. It was white, and it looked like it was just going to be a real good batter's wicket, and actually it did plenty. And I think I just did what I always try and do and didn't try and change too much, even though I hadn't had the success leading up to that. And thankfully, they played some full shots, edged some, got some decisions going my way, and then you just suddenly really get on a roll, and the confidence really flowed from there. We played on two wickets that did a little bit and certainly helped my type of bowling, which was there was a little bit of lateral movement off the wicket. And so, both games moved in a hurry a little bit, really, and that was great. And that just got my season off and running, but it just took a little while, really. And I think what I learned from that, I think if that had have happened probably 10 years earlier, I'd have probably been panicking by the time I got to there. But thankfully, that wasn't the case.
So we've got a comment from Darren. Darren is asking me, Aman, do you run his fan club, Aman? Calm down. So if you want me to run a fan club for you, Alan, you know who to contact. I'm here.
Yeah, I don't think the admin of that would be too testing for you, man. You'd be okay.
Okay, so I want to request the viewers, please feel free to ask questions, and I want to ask you 12 quickfire questions again now. These are related to cricket and related to a lot of other things. Your favorite cricket ground?
I've been really lucky that I've played at a few grounds by hook or by crook. So I've played at the SCG and I've played at the Cape Town, at Newlands, and Lords was my home for 5 years, which was amazing when I played at Middlesex. So they were amazing places to play cricket, and I loved them all there. But to be totally honest, Worcester is just an amazing ground, very scenic. It won't have, and no one's going to be surprised by this, it hasn't got those facilities that those other 3 grounds have got, but just the feeling that it has there. It's one of the most picturesque grounds you're going to find in world cricket, really, and the history that it has there with the D'Oliveras, etc. So I would say that whilst those 3, it's an absolute honour and a pleasure to play there, Worcester's going to be my favourite ground.
Favorite test bowler of all time?
So a hero growing up, certainly when I was in my teenage years, and this will disappoint a lot of people, was Angus Fraser, because I could relate to him. So essentially it was really unspectacular, hit the seam. It looked like he was hating every minute of it, and he was in pain for the majority of it. So in terms of relating to someone, it would have been Gus Fraser, and he did really well for England. He had an amazing record, I think. But then me and you discussed a little bit about this. Going on from that, I used to love watching Glenn McGrath bowl. And he was someone who was just, I thought, was amazing and did some amazing things. He looked absolutely horrible to play against as well. So I'd say Glenn McGrath.
So the next one, it's like $1 million question, so you have to be ready. Stoke City or Port Vale?
But yeah, I've only ever heard of one of those clubs.
So I just want to tell the viewers, Alan is a big Stoke City fan, and Port Vale are their rivals. People watching from India, Port Vale are rivals of Stoke City. Not direct rivals, but yeah.
They're not really rivals. They just happen to geographically be close by, but that is it.
Okay. If you had to coach one IPL and one BBL team, which one would that be and why? We'll take the IPL one first.
IPL, Mumbai Indians, I think.
Mumbai Indians.
Spent some time at Mumbai and absolutely loved it. Read a book called Shantaram, which is all based in and around Mumbai, and absolutely loved my time there. Absolutely manic place, carnage, but yeah, I absolutely loved my time there.
Big Bash?
But, yeah, Big Bash. Tough one. I spent a lot of time in Sydney, playing in Sydney, so it would probably be there. And probably this
Sydney Sixers.
I started out west, so Sydney Thunder in theory should be. So I'm going to go Sydney Thunder, and also because Cal Ferguson plays there, and we had some good times with him at Worcester. So,
Test, one day or T20, the toughest format to play mentally and physically.
If I'd have played any of them, I would have given you a far better answer. But I would say Test cricket, without a shadow of a doubt. It's played over a long period of time. It's when you think. In terms of your skills and your powers of concentration and discipline, it's where you're really, really tested. And I think all the others, there are real challenges in themselves and offer many, many different ways of doing it. But I think in terms of, the toughest would be Test cricket.
And your greatest achievement as a player?
I would say, if it's not getting a contract as a first-class cricketer, which was quite amazing for a lot of people who played against me at the time, it is getting. I was Wisden, one of the 5 Wisden players of the year in 2012, and that was a real honour. I didn't win much as a player, really. So something like that it would have been great to have won lots and lots of trophies and been part of that team success to get recognised in that. Alongside some very fine players, that would be the biggest achievement.
If you had to assess that season, the 2011 season, after that, it's because of that season you won the Wisden in 2012. What different did you do in 2011 that actually took your game to another level?
So previously, I literally bowled little in-swingers and off-cutters, really. So the ball only ever went back into towards the stumps. So I think really good players could play me quite comfortably once they got in. And so someone like Neil Mackenzie, and this is when it actually happened, just played me like a really poor off spinner. So got outside the crease, got outside the line of off stump, and literally played everything through leg side and took out bowled an LBW, and that made it really difficult for me. So I've been working on trying to get the ball to go away and attack both edges. And by, I think, the start of 2011, I was pretty confident that I could do that. And so that took me up another level, really, and enabled me to get a few more wickets. It also helped that we had an overseas bowler throughout that season. So Damien Wright, Saqib Al-Hassan, Saeed Ajmal, and Kemo Roach, they all came in and did a little bit, 3 or 4 games here. Having someone of that class and that ability at the other end certainly helped. So I certainly remember when Kemo bowled quickly at times, they were certainly quite keen to get down my end and play a few shots, which helped me as well. And obviously playing with Saeed at that time, who was really at his peak, that was unbelievable as well. So the pressure that was being put on opposition batters when I was bowling by, those overseas bowlers was brilliant and a massive help for me.
So did you make like a technical change that you wanted to get the outswinger right and
I made something as basic as my grip. So I just changed. Grip changed a lot throughout my career, and I finally got to somewhere that helped me do that as well. So it's all very dull and boring stuff, but actually, I worked through quite a few years, and there's a guy called Stuart Clark who played for Australia, who I played a little bit
Yeah.
with, Middlesex, who I did a bit of work with, and then Chad Keegan there as well, and they did stuff very differently, and they were very creative people and players, and I was very stubborn and also pretty fearful of change, and so and it just took a while really. I wish I'd done it 10 years earlier, but I don't think I was in a place to do it then. So yeah, we got there in the end.
Adding on to this question, who do you think is the current best bowler who can swing it both ways? Like he has a really good in-swinger and an out-swinger.
Jimmy Anderson.
In Test cricket.
Yeah,
Jimmy Anderson.
Jimmy Anderson. Yeah.
In one-day international?
I think that would be really difficult because I think in one-day international cricket, or in one-day cricket in general, it doesn't swing for long.
Yeah.
So then you'd be looking at a really good exponent of reverse swing, I guess. Yeah. I was lucky enough to play with Wako Yunus for a little while at Warwickshire, and he was amazing at it. And he didn't really tell you too much. You'd ask him a few questions, and he was all about point of release. So I think that's a tougher one. So it's someone who, could reverse swing the ball back in those terms, but in Test terms, Jimmy Anderson. I might be proven wrong along those lines, but I think as a pure swing bowler and the ability to swing it up both ways, he'd be miles ahead of everyone else.
The most improved bowler in the Worcestershire county team currently, who you've seen develop into the ranks, and who do you think?
Who asked you that?
Sorry? That's my own question.
That's your own question.
Yes. You have to answer that carefully because a lot of your teammates are watching.
No, I don't care anymore. I haven't seen them for ages. It won't matter. I think so with my coaches, I'm going to say they've all improved brilliantly along the way. But I think in terms of someone who's taken it on very quickly and has learned really quickly and has had success would be Pat Brown. Pat Brown, yeah. So I think we're really lucky there that we've got a really good young bunch of players who are really hungry to do well, and they want to get better. But Brownie, I think, and it's an obvious one, I guess, he's gone from playing, second team cricket and a little bit in and out of first class sides to playing international cricket in just over 2 years. So I think in terms of that, and it's not necessarily about, the technical side of it for Brownie, it's strength of character as well, a little bit, and how he goes about his game. So I would say Brownie.
Do you think his knuckleball is one of the best in the business right now?
It seems to be, doesn't it?
Yeah. It's really difficult to pick.
They've just been showing on Sky recently, over the last day or so, 2018 Blast final day. Yeah. And the way he bowled it on that day was absolutely exceptional. He bowled 8 overs to 36, I think, in T20 cricket on a finals day, where the lowest score was 158. So it wasn't as if it was a horrendous wicket. So there's obviously some real good exponents to that. Andrew Tye, Benny Howe. But I think Brownie is, when he's on song, it's right up there.
Favorite movie?
Favorite movie would be Point Break, just because it's so bad, it's good. So really love it. I could watch.
Your favorite?
Or Zootropolis, which is also very good.
Your favorite destination? Other than cricket, outside of cricket?
I would say Cape Town.
Cape Town. Okay. Yeah. Best captain you have played under? Because you played under quite a few captains. The best captain you've played under?
It won't be Daryl Mitchell, because he's asked me about looking like Derek on nice. So it definitely won't be Daryl. It won't be Ignite, because he got me sacked as player at Warwickshire. So I'll go Vikram Solanki.
Vikram Solanki. Okay. And why do you think, because how important a frontline bowler and a captain's relationship is? If a captain is a batsman, how important is the relationship between those two? Like we've seen MS Dhoni's relationship with his players, giving freedom to the youngsters, to bowl Joginder Sharma bowling 2007 World Cup final over, bowling the final. It was his first tournament he was playing, and he bowled the final over. I mean, how do you think the relationship between the captain and the bowler worked for you, especially with Vikram Solanki, I would say?
It's massive. It's massive. I think with anyone, you see the best captains are the ones that can relate to all types of players. So not just their skills they do. They'll obviously be very qualified in that, but understanding how bowlers work. So literally giving you, and you talked about it there, the freedom. Really, there was nothing more than frustrated me that I'd walk back to the end of my mark, turn round, and that my field's changed. And you'd be like, well, who's bowling this ball? Like, is it me or is it you? So the best captains are those guys that, you know, you'll have conversations with you, but they'll understand what you're going through. They'll understand. They'll have empathy, definitely. In, you know, bowling hurts, really hurts.
Yeah.
And physically. So understanding that and the frustrations that come with that, and really just going along the ride there and trusting. If you feel like you've got trust from the captain, then that gives you a huge amount of confidence.
Your favorite bowling partner in your career?
So I will say that going back to my Middlesex days, I was fortunate enough that I bowled a lot with Chris Silverwood and Tim Murtagh, and those two stand out. So any of the current Worcester lads who are listening, or the guys that I played with, really sorry, but Silvers was amazing, aggressive, and just a lot of, you know, he was brilliant to play with. And Mertz was just a lot of fun as well. So, and would really take the heat off. It like take the pressure off completely by having a laugh and a giggle and making fun of the situation. So those two, highly skilled bowlers, but really good to bowl with as well. And they knew what they were doing. You know, they're really knowledgeable guys.
As a bowler, the most difficult batsman you have bowled to in your career, which like you could never get him out, or eventually when you did, you're like, thank God, finally I've got this guy out.
You know, there was obviously, I was lucky enough to play 17 years of first class cricket, so I'd come across some really good players. So
yeah,
Matthew Hayden, Justin Langer, Jack Callis, those guys, amazing players. But Will Beer at Sussex, never got him out, could never get him out. That's like 9, hated Will Beer. It was a real struggle. So yeah, Will Beer.
We've got a question. I won't mention the name. He's asking, who's the best black 6'3" left-arm bowler at Warwickshire when Alan was a bowling coach?
I've seen that, and it would have been Keith Barker, but he was only 6'2". So the best left armer was Ben Brooks, without a shadow of a doubt, and he was just really unlucky, obviously, that there was a guy called Keith Barker in front of him.
Who was known? We've got another question from Keith Barker. Who was known as the revolving door when practicing?
Keith Barker, when he batted, so you'd literally throw the ball at him and the ball would just go out at any angle. Not the angle you expected it to go out at. So you're like, there's a straight half volley, that should come back past me and it will go down to square leg somewhere or fine leg. And then you'd bowl one on leg stump and you're like, that should go through square leg, and it'd end up going through point very hard. So
we've got a question from Dan Cook. He asks, favorite ever wicket taken and why?
I would say it was Matthew Hayden at Northants when I was at Warwickshire.
Okay.
And just purely because it was a really flat wicket. Spinners had done a lot of work, and we were really lucky. We had Ashley Giles and Neil Smith bowling for us, and I think they certainly had Monty and maybe either Graham Swan or Jason Brown, so very good. And so for the seamers to bowl on it was quite hard work, and Matthew Hayden was playing for Northants at the time. And I bowled a spell, and I bowled reasonably well at him, just kept him really quiet. And then I got him out towards the end of my spell. And that was amazing. It was really early on in my career. And so to get someone like Matthew Hayden out was massive for me. And to do it in those sort of circumstances, not when it was on a wicket that was really conducive to help me or things like that. And he was in at the time as well. He would have, you know, whether he got 100 or not, I can't remember. But ended up getting him out caught behind. And that was like a real experience for me, that if I want to play at this level consistently, I'm going to have to play like this all the time.
I want to ask about your transition from being a player to a coach. What changes you made, and how did it go through? How were the first couple of years in coaching?
Oh, well, I blagged it as a player, then I've just had to blag it even more as a coach. I found it really tough. So I was an experienced player, and then went from being an experienced player to a really inexperienced coach. And that was at Warwickshire, which was, and it is, a big club. And at the time was a really strong side with lots of strong characters in it. And so I found it incredibly tough, really rewarding, and a lot of fun, but it was really tough. And it's just like, I think I was a good coach of myself. So that was fine. If I was coaching myself how to bowl or do whatever, that was fine. But actually coaching other people and understanding how they work, the language that they like using, the responses they would have to certain ways. And well, I mean, I'm still learning that, and people are probably saying I'm learning really slowly, but hugely different. I mean, the advantage of already playing was that you sort of understood the roller coaster that is playing professional sport and county cricket, and being on that, you know, going from game to game in lots of different formats. So having a bit of understanding of that, but apart from that, you're now starting to learn a whole new skill, which is understanding people and listening to them. So I found it really difficult, really enjoyed it. You know, I wanted to stay in the dressing room environment, professional sport environment. I've been lucky enough to do that, but yeah, really difficult to start off with.
So since you have been in cricket for so long, how do you think the game has evolved, and how important it has become for a coach to adapt their coaching style with so many changes coming into the game? You know, T20 cricket was not there before. Now we have T20 cricket. Now we have 10 overs cricket also happening in different parts of the world. It's just evolving the game. So how do you reflect upon your coaching styles and skills? And do you think it's very easy? It's not easy to change yourself as a coach, to change your skills as a coach, considering the situations?
Yeah, I think it's probably not quite as demanding as for the players.
Yeah.
Because you have more time and plan, but essentially, yeah, it's still a challenge, and it's one that, you know, as a player, I was a far better red ball bowler than I was a white ball bowler. But actually, coaching white ball cricket, I'm finding that a little more rewarding at the moment. It's certainly not easy. I've had to think about it a bit more, probably because as a player, I found it as a real challenge. And that's moved on in leaps and bounds so quickly. I mean, when I first started, if you went at fives in a one-day game, you've probably gone a bit over the rate. Whereas now, if you can keep it at under,
it's very good.
It's very. And in T20 cricket, depending on where you bowl, you've got to, you're trying to keep it in single digits. And you know, one of my last games for Worcester in T20 cricket, I got reverse swept, and I'm like, this is ridiculous. So having to cope with that, and the fact that, you know, it seems like boundaries are getting smaller, bats are getting bigger, batters are certainly getting more skilled in terms of being able to play all around the wicket and opening up the whole field, really. So it's a real challenge for those guys. But I think if they can embrace that alongside their red ball cricket, they'll become far better cricketers in both formats. So I think if you want to be a success in white ball cricket, you've still got to have a really good stop ball. So that's really good. So that helps your red ball cricket. And also vice versa, that in red ball cricket, you might need to be creative sometimes. You might need to push yourself a little bit and challenge yourself to get better, and that helps you in all formats.
So we've got a few players who play in your team and a few other English county players watching this. What advice would you give to current players and who actually are about to finish their career, who want to get into coaching? What is something that you would advise them, maybe 2 or 3 pointers, that they should keep this in mind? And
well, I think just looking at it, and I've spoke to a few coaches recently from outside of cricket, it's get coaching in as you can, in as many different environments as you can, and speak to as many people as you can in coaching, and get away from that cricket bubble a little bit if you can, and just basically give yourself the best chance. I think thankfully I coached a little bit throughout my cricket, but probably didn't do as much as I should have done. But I think just to have done as much as you can, and don't be afraid to try lots of different things. So go over and, you know, do some academy stuff, do some real young age group stuff, because actually they're the ones where it gets down to the nitty gritty. You have to explain yourself, and you have to say, well, why should I use my front arm as a bowler, or why should my top hand be dominant as a batter, or whatever. And you have to really get down to the nitty gritty of it. And I think just giving yourself the opportunity to coach as much as possible. You know, I talked about it earlier. I went into coaching with very little experience, and I'm speaking to elite coaches at the moment who have done 20, 30 years of coaching. So they coached a lot from a young age, whereas I played and then have started coaching a little bit later.
We've got this question. You've always been seen as a team man. How important is the camaraderie of the team in its success?
Massive, absolutely massive. I think, I don't know if I was seen like that, but I valued myself as a team member and thought that, generally I was a good foot soldier. And, if you asked me to go and try and do something, I'd give it a go, because as long as it was, I believed it was for the good of the team, then that was a paramount thing. And so I think, I grew up watching my dad play team sport and got it. And then growing up and being at the club that I was, where it was a huge thing to be part of a team and to be part of a club. So, whilst you wanted to do well as an individual, and you hope that contributed towards winning, it doesn't matter if you take 5 wickets. If you've ended up bowling 20 overs into the wind, your contribution will have added something. So it's whatever that might be. It might not be my day in terms of the headlines, but being part of that winning team. And even if you've had an absolute rubbish day and you've got naught and you've got no wickets, well, did I help everyone else along? Was I mid on and mid off encouraging the bowler, or was I there telling the batter how good he was going to be when I was batting at the other end with him, or whatever it might be to contribute towards winning? I haven't met many guys who enjoy losing, if I'm honest. So it's doing what you can to win a game.
I have this question, which I think I know the answer to. Has this live session been the highlight of your lockdown?
It has been now, yes. It has been now. I've ignored a lot of the stuff that's coming up, thankfully, because I'm trying to concentrate on my answers. But yes.
Yeah, that's right. We've got a question from Mr. Subhash Jain from London. Favorite match you've played in? The most memorable match you've played in?
I will go back, and so apologies for anyone else, but I will go back to 1998, and it's my last game at the time for Little Stoke, and we'd never won the league, never won the Premier League.
Yeah.
And I was professional at the time, and we played at Bignell End up on the top of Boone Hill, and we won the last game of the season to win the league, so to win the top division. And that was huge for me. 1998 was a good year for me. I won the league with Staffs. I won the league with Little Stoke, and I got signed by Warwickshire. And that was sort of the icing on the cake for me. And so I'd played cricket with these guys for a long period of time and I'd known them for over 10 years. So to watch guys who, we'd never won the league before, to do that was an amazing experience. Incredibly tense. So in terms of actual, probably the enjoyment of the game in itself was not there, but the aftermath of it was huge for me.
I won't tell you who this question is from, but I think you'll come to know. You've had a meal with Mushtaq Ahmed, Rana Navedul Hassan, and former Stoke City manager Tony Pulis. It's a bizarre combination. And a guy called Darren Long, I don't know if you know him, and you did not like Tony Pulis as a Stoke manager. Do you still feel troubled about being so two-faced to Tony during that meal after acting like his best mate?
No, I'm too fit for that. So it just comes with the territory. It was to take that pinch of salt, really. I do that all the time. No, I didn't like Tony Pulis' football. However, I was willing to give him the opportunity to impress me as a person. And he did.
Yeah.
So it would have been very, very rude of me and very narrow-minded for me to have taken that impression of him just because I didn't like the play. And so I'd like to think that I was the bigger person in that and gave someone opportunities.
You had 5 very different people in this meal. Imagine you're sitting on the table. What kind of conversation did you have? Because you have 2 Pakistani cricketers. You have your good friend Darren Long is a cricket agent. You're a cricketer yourself, and a football team manager, a team you supported.
Yeah, they were all really engaging company, apart from Darren. So that was fun. Darren, we'd all played cricket, sport to a high level. So we all just got on, and then Darren just sat there and had his meal. So that was fine. No, it was quite interesting. But Tony Pulis was a keen sports follower anyway.
Yeah.
So, and if anyone knows Mushy, very engaging company. You couldn't really shut him. That was great. I think me and Darren took on the back burner a little bit and just listened to some stories. But yeah, it was a really good night. I do remember it very well, actually.
Like we see these days, there's so many T20 cricket opportunities international. You can go to literally so many countries are offering that opportunity for players these days. how important do you think is gaining that experience of playing overseas? You played in Cape Town, you're saying you played at the SCG. How did that develop you as a player?
Massively. I think, my cricket there was at a very different level. So I played first grade cricket in Australia and in South Africa, and it was a really good standard. It's nothing like playing in these franchise leagues. So I think any experience like that, it's all part of your education, whether it be, the skills that you pick up on the field or the skills you pick up off the field. So learning from other players and other cultures and other environments about how they do it. I think it's really dangerous just to be in one all the time. And so, I had really good experiences going away and overseas, and I had no choice really. It was either go to Sydney or South Africa or go home, no offence to mum and dad, and be in Stoke. So there's no, there's no competition really what you're going to do there. So
yeah,
I'm a huge fan of people going away and playing as much cricket as possible in the winter and learning. They'll get away from the coaches and the players that they're normally used to, and it puts them in lots of different situations. And I think it helped me certainly as a player and as a person.
I just want to ask the viewers, if you have, please keep the questions coming. Then we can take. Keith had a question: which young bowler that you worked with has the best chance of playing Test cricket?
Wow. Okay. When I was at Warwickshire, Henry Brooks came on leaps and bounds and did really well, and he went away on an England under 19s tour and grew massively, and that would be a huge thing about that. He got exposed. Other guys were injured, so Sam Curran was injured and Matt Fisher, so guys who were probably ahead of him in the pecking order, and he got an opportunity to go away, and he learned so much from that. So I think watching him, but you think that if he continues his progress, he would have a chance. But I've got 3 or 4 at Worcester where you're like, the sky's the limit for these guys if they really keep going and keep themselves. So Josh Tong, who's had a little bit of Lions experience, and Dylan Pennington, you would say have got a real chance. So that they've, Dylan's played under 19s cricket and has really pushed on and done well at times in first class cricket. So those guys have got a real chance, I think. And I've been really fortunate to be around where Brownie's gone from being, a county cricketer and has now been exposed to a bit of international cricket. So, hopefully these guys are asking him and watching the way that he goes about this stuff to give themselves that chance.
A hypothetical situation, Alan, if I tell you that I give you the opportunity to change 3 things, it could be any rule, it could be anything, in Test cricket to make it more appealing for the younger audiences, what would those be?
I think, firstly, speed the play up a little bit.
Yeah.
So I know that the older generation, and I'd be part of that, I quite like the pace of the game and get to understand it. But I think at times bowling at 10, 11, 12 overs an hour, like that's pretty cruel on everyone, I think. So, having an idea that, we need to still play at a tempo. We want the quality to be really high. And I've never played international cricket, so I can imagine what the intensity's like. And I get that, I might need to slow it down again every now and again. But I certainly think having the opportunity to speed it up a little bit would be really good. That would be the only one, if I'm honest. I wouldn't want to meddle with the game too much. I think it's a beautiful game. I fell in love with it and I'm incredibly passionate about it. There's not much in there that I'm like, we need to change at the moment. It would be about making it better for bowlers, but that's not probably helping the game too much, if I'm honest.
It's a good answer. We've got a question from Rajiv Jain from India. If you had to sacrifice one form of cricket for the other 2 to survive, which one would you choose and why?
That's a cruel question. But I think it'd have to be the 50-over game. I think then we've got the 2 sides of the spectrum, really. So you've got the test that is Test match cricket, that is, the really true test of playing cricket and applying your skill over a long period of time against another very skilled team. So I think that has to stay. The tradition and history that comes with that. That's not an accident. That's because it's a brilliant game. You know, if it wasn't, it would have gone. And I still, you know, it still frustrates me when people say that, you know, it's under threat. I get that, but it shouldn't be. And then I think to potentially keep the entertainment going and to try and keep attracting new people that have never been exposed to the game before, T20 cricket.
Okay, I'll just take one last question. We've got a question from Switzerland from Anita. She says, there are two questions. How can we encourage young girls into cricket, and how can women's cricket be made more popular?
I think they're trying in England, certainly with the All-Stars cricket, and it is just, I've been to quite a few of those sessions. My son goes to them, and it is, you know, it's literally open to all, and just really trying to get the girls interested in the game as quickly as possible. You know, I think it's really folly to think that it's going to be male dominated and that it's a boys' game and the girls shouldn't play it. So that would be, you know, that it should be just open to all, and local clubs be really, really enthusiastic and passionate about having girls play cricket. That certainly that would help in that terms. And then I think just for the women's game in general, just again more free to air coverage would be the thing. You know, so if it, you know, there's a fair amount on Sky, but not enough. Let's get more of it on, but let's try and get it free to air. If we're really going to push it, and that's how, you know, when I first grew up, you know, it was either on Channel 4 or BBC men's cricket. Let's get women's cricket on free to air as much as possible. You know, if we're going to be serious about it, and we should be about making it a sport for both boys and girls, then that would be the way for me.
Alan, I want to thank you. We've had a really, really fun conversation, very informative, and I've learned a lot from you today, and I hope the viewers have also. And we hope to see you soon in the dressing room, on the cricket pitch. And I just want to thank you again. Stay safe, regards to your family, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you, mate. Sorry for the interruption.
No, that's fine. Not a problem. Take care, Alan.
Yes, thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye. So guys, thank you for joining for the third session of Vitae Sports Live Instagram series, and hope to see you guys soon. Stay safe and healthy.